Hello, Moon to Moon. Welcome back to my series on self-abandonment through the houses. How is it going? How are you liking it? Please reach out if you have thoughts you want to share. First off, I want to thank all the people who've recently left me reviews for Moon to Moon. I feel flooded with riches. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that and to name your pleasure with Moon to Moon. Um, Honestly, it feels like getting paid because it is. It's like a form of exchange when we write a review and rate podcasts and we're saying like thanks for that. And so I feel paid. Thank you. Thanks everyone for doing that. If you have never left a rating or review for Moon to Moon, and it's lighting up your life. If you put it on, you choose it, you are coming here for some reason. I would so appreciate if you would take a moment to name that reason. You could go listen to anything. Your time is precious. Your ears are sacred. I am entering your space. Like, this is so intimate and it's an honor. And I would love it if you would write a sentence or two naming why you choose to come here with your precious, precious time. And that really, really helps somebody decide, like, oh, I'll give this a shot. These reviews make it seem like something that I like. And then now somebody's found it. So thank you so much for all of y'all who've ever done it before and who did it recently and who are about to do that right now. Thank you. It's very dark where I am. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that it's kind of it's a low light situation because it is storming here in Dallas. I love it. It makes me so happy. It feels very moon to moon to be in kind of this sacred enveloped space with the storm around me. I don't think it's going to come through in the audio, but now and then you might hear something like thunder. And the water is kind of like running down through these pipes in the studio space where I now have my office. I have an office now. It's very fancy. Some of y'all have seen the new background I have with these curtains. Yeah, I feel very special having this beautiful space, and I can come here and my daughters don't have to tiptoe around the house if they're home. And yeah, it's this new setup I have in Dallas where I live and where I grew up. And I took over basically Matt's studio space where he'd been living after his divorce. It's like a double height kind of what would you describe it as? Industrial. It's kind of an industrial look, but there's these big windows, and the energy in here is full of all the memories of our times when we were falling in love and we were becoming a family. And I love how it feels in here. It's huge for one person, but there's plenty of space for me to start doing in-person things. Like I'm going to be able to start doing workshops and things locally. Um, yeah, I'm super nervous-sided about all of that because, from the very beginning of my career, I knew I was going to be online because I couldn't imagine being embraced by Dallas. But a lot of that was my own protector projections keeping me safe. And I don't need those protectors protecting me anymore. I can bring people in here and know that I'm safe inside myself. And I also have a very different understanding of this neighborhood, of the city, of the community that's here from just encountering it so differently after my marriage and meeting pockets of such different people than I ever knew in my married life or in my pre-married life when I was growing up here. So Yeah, that's some updates from my personal side. Yeah, I'm holding a lot right now. We just finished Have You Tried Making It Weirder, which was just fantastic. Like, just fantastic. Matt and I were so energized by it. The community was so committed. Like, everybody came back every time. Like, it was very interactive, very exciting. Um, And Matt's been telling some of his friends about some of the things that he's was teaching, people from the non-magical worlds. And they're all really excited and encouraging him to take some of these ideas out into the marketing field of things people talk about. So we'll see where that goes. That was Mystics Making Money number 5. And Mystics Making Money is just continuing to build in its momentum and build in its energy. Like the first few that I did, it was kind of like when I started Unshaming the Signs, I just sort of felt like a kind of head scratch, like, what's she doing over there? Course, I was scratching my own head at myself, like, what am I doing? But now that we finished 5, this coming one this summer will be the 6th one, because I am intending to do 12. I'm starting to see how, it's really becoming its own baby that is growing up and has big, audacious plans. And so I'm just stewarding that, one workshop at a time. So anytime you ever listener want to get in on this, you can buy these workshops individually and you can stay tuned for this one this summer. The summer is going to be one I have been dreaming on doing this one since, oh God, years I've wanted to do this. It's going to be called The Syllabus is the Chrysalis, and it's going to be about syllabus creation, curriculum creation, like building an itinerary with your wisdom that you can then make a class from. Like basically class building, which is for me a real natural gift. Like a lot of what I teach is like my hard-earned wisdom. Like it was hard for me, so I learned, and this is how I did it. But this is one that honestly, like I was whipping out at age 23, building social studies curriculums. Like I just get it. So I'm excited to work with you this summer to see really what pours out of me. You may or may not know that Mystics Making Money is a series that I basically am cornering myself to, I'm making myself do these because I know that all I have to do is squat and they will birth right out. Like I just need to find the time and space for it. So I'm like, well, looks like we're going to make a big promise to do one seasonally. And it helps me rewire the part of me that's like, oh, it's going to be hard, or like, oh, it's going to have a lot of effort. It's like, no, it's not. Britten, you're just going to squat and it's literally going to fall out. You just don't know what's going to fall out until you squat. So we're putting the squatting on the calendar. And so it's super emergent because like I don't have a lot of time to like obsess over it, perfect it, refine it, be like tortured about it. Like I'm just gonna take a deep breath, tune in, and let it roll through. That's like where these teachings are now. But there is a future where I'm going to refine these. Like there's a future where I'm going to be like, no, these are mature now. Like these are not beginning, me experimenting, me just like trying to birth stuff. They will have like a different life stage when they will also be more expensive, um because they aren't coming with like the playfulness of a, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you want to see what happens. And my whole career is built on this. Is like I just went for it to see what would happen and was like, oh, like kind of shocked that it was so good. And then just like, okay, well, if I was going to do that again, what would I do differently? And then just refining over time. But doing it experimentally and emergently, like there are a lot of people out there, maybe you, listener, who really enjoy being part of that kind of experimental phase of my work. Thank you. Thank you. Someone had to come, right? Like, y'all are really important in my career because it's because you were coming that it came out of me. Do you see how, like, teaching is so much about connection? It's so much about the intimacy of us coming together because it would otherwise stay in me, right? It would just stay in me, sort of like nebulous, not formed. And then because I put it on the calendar and I built a little pay portal around it and was like, this is how you can come. And then it's like, oh, they're coming. Okay. Like, all right, let's see what happens, And because you were coming, it came out of me. And my whole career has been created on this dynamic. And then over time, I take these things and I keep refining them. And I prune and I prune and I shift it and I change things when I come back to it. But the heart of it's really the same. The heart of it is very much the same as the origin. It just like it just matures is all it is. It just matures. It's not better or worse necessarily. It's just there's a level of anchoring that happens when you do something again and again and again and again. And you also are just so much more fortified and like, I know that this is good. Like for the parts of me that are like, question mark, is it any good? Like those parts aren't really talking anymore once you start maturing your teachings because you have the evidence of your community. You have what you saw with your own eyes. You have the testimonials. You have the evidence of people coming back again and again. And so you're like, I guess I need to start believing that this has some serious impact. Am I ready to take that seriously? And that really is a journey, y'all. That really is a journey because taking yourself seriously is scary. It is. And I'm pretty sure everything I'm saying is a prelude to what we're about to talk about, but I'm just kind of like letting it rip and see where we go. All right. Yeah. Taking yourself seriously is a whole journey. That is definitely going to be a theme of this episode. I will tell you what. All right. Um, yeah, I got a lot going on. I'm finishing up Emergence Astrology year 1. I'm finishing up Emergence Astrology year 2. I'm finishing up The Magician's Table. I'm finishing up Ablaze. I just finished a Witch Sister journey, and I feel super excited to say that she wants to do it again. So we're going to be initiating that again. But I did just close. So there's like a lot of like almost closure, like I feeling closure coming. And, as someone who's spent so much of my life in like semester, like school semester way of like seeing calendars, this just feels right on time because my daughters are now done with school and it's like, okay, summer's here. Everything needs to be wrapping up. Like wrapping up, it's Gemini. It's like super bright outside. And like it's time to like freshen things up by ending and beginning. So that's really where I am with a lot of things of just like feeling that kind of downhill to the door and holding everything that comes up with that. Everything that comes up with things ending, experiencing endings is something that I've been wanting to support my communities in. Okay, this is going to be a theme in this episode as well. Okay, it's all connected. Um, I think that all in the endings of things bring up a lot. And part of what they bring up is grief, grief that time passes, grief that things end. And so what I've learned is that because so much of my teachings have to something to do with death and life and death, okay, because the theme we're going to be doing is second house, which is the like the gate of hell the in astrology. There's like something deathly about the second house, but then at the same time it's also about life. It's about abundance, and it's about livelihood, and it's about prosperity, and it's about a well that you turn to for yourself and provide yourself from the well. I do think that caring for endings for me is like a healing experience, and I like to prepare my students for moving to the ends of things because it is part of holding the high sensation of the aliveness of that thing and all that it has meant for us. And with a lot of the containers too, there's a lot of feelings because we're always in a dynamic with what the past self thought the end was going to be like. Like we're always with this like past self that signed up for the thing, and they imagined that the transformation was going to be a certain way. And so there can be this sense of there's like a gap. There's a gap between what the transformation was and what you thought it was going to be, right? And the longer someone works with me, the longer someone stays in my space, the more that gap is just information, and it's not something that's like full of shame or full of disappointment or whatever those things like have tended to come up. I found it to be true that the longer you hang around in my spaces, the more that kind of information is just like, oh, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get, or I didn't get what I wanted, but I got exactly what I needed. And thank God I got what I got. Um, which is to me the signal that you are really learning how to trust life. You are learning how to trust yourself. You are learning how to trust emergence. Like that's the signal. How do you know? Your relationship to who you are at endings gives you a lot of information about where you are in your journey with emergence and really letting emergence in as a way of life. Because the deeper you get into emergence, I would say, the more like feelings like disappointment, resentment, self frustration, self shaming, um, uh, kind of like a almost like a collapse around like, oop, I did it again. I didn't get what I wanted out of this. I didn't become the thing I thought I was going to be when I signed up for this. Like those kinds of self-talk patterns lose what they're not compelling to you anymore. The longer you do emergence, that whole pattern starts to drop off. So when I'm teaching in the emergence astrology pathway is about getting into a long-term commitment to dropping that shit so that you are free. What happens when you do that is you become free because then you can just allow yourself to go on journeys. You can allow yourself to have experiences. You can allow yourself to go out there and take risks, go out there and get some evidence. Evidence of, people came, they didn't come. People, it was amazing. I don't know. It kind of was uncomfortable. All of it is information. And the more you find yourself like, it's all information. Like recently, one of my students who's maybe listening to this was saying, like, it's all my information. And it was just like, that's amazing. Like, that is a massive achievement, I would say, to be able to get into the emergence phase of everything is just information. Um, and yeah, like now we're really talking. Now we can go have some fun. Was when we start feeling like that with the evidence of our lives. Yeah. I think I'm feeling a little bit of a wind down on the prelude. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. All right. So we have been exploring self-abandonment, which is kind of a high sensation term because it raises a specter of shame, right? Like to talk about self-abandonment feels like a zone of really uncomfortable feelings because I don't know anyone who's like uh who would be proud of self-abandoning, right? But to me, it's a great word because it gets my attention to think about something that I might do, a pattern, a habit, a way of talking to myself, a way of believing things about reality, a way of believing the shame lens that's all a phantasmagoria spectacle and not reality, but is what it looks like through the shame glasses. When I can put that word on something that I previously just thought was like my own inability to be successful at stewarding my gifts in the world, um, that really gets my attention. And that's really important because attention is like everything, from the perspective of magic, from the perspective of craft, from the perspective of skill. Attention is everything. Attention is everything. So I'm inviting you into this word because it's attention getting. And this is a thing I would say you want your attention on, not so you can shame yourself, but actually to do the opposite, to notice how shame is at play in this whole dynamic and how to come back into a more liberated relationship through the unshaming practice with yourself, through being with yourself to locate the origins of these things, which will reveal to you your innocence. Holding for effect. Oh, cracking up. So that's my aim is to reveal your innocence again and again and again and return you to a perspective of self that is rich with your own divinity. We're exposing systems. We're exposing systems for what they do to us and uncovering the patterns tied to that. And it does want our attention in order to be repaired. So, how can astrology help us with that? How can charts help us with that? How can the houses help us with that? I would say the houses help a lot because they're describing the terrain of terrestrial life where we could self-abandon because we were taught not to trust ourselves. We were taught to obey because that's what authoritarian systems want. So this is a really sensitive one, the sixth house, because it has to do with your relationship to self as revealing your abundance is the abundance of nature. Like if we were to like distill it, I would say from my own mystical perspective, the second house is like your flowering gift for tapping into your own prosperity and providing from resources to self from that wellspring inside of you. Really pleased with the way I worded that. So this is a zone where we just have been so stripped of innocence here. Um, we have been deeply, deeply, deeply conditioned to believe that scarcity is the thing there is. This is manufactured scarcity. It's scarcity that our to our bodies, to through the lineage, through our parents and their parents, and it's just deep in us that scarcity is a real thing. And all of it disconnects ourselves from trust in our own regenerativity, that we have the regenerativity of nature, and that we have these well springs within us that provide then for our livelihood. So these keywords of the second house being livelihood, resources, assets, havingness, abundance, and so money is here. This is where money is. One of the places money is, and it's a tricksy place in the sense that it's one of these houses that, from the perspective of the ascendant, the first house can't see the second house. It's like in a blind spot. So we are like moving on our path, first house, last episode, and we're not like as conscious of the beliefs, the patterns, the underlying ways that we relate to reality, relate to each other, relate to resources that have been deeply conditioned by oppressive systems and from like the inherited um, trauma and distortions of our lineages. So it's whoa, like this is a deep zone for pain and grief. And um, everybody's got different grief here. Everybody's got different stuff, but we all have is stuff. We all have stuff, and that keeps us from being in a home place of self from which we can trust in the well, like trust in the well that is us, like that we are the well. It's very difficult to relate to ourselves as the well, in like the way reality feels, the way the marketplace feels, the way money feels, the way banks feel, the way taxes feel, the way debt feels. It's just such a mess. Like the mess of billionaires. It's so fucked up. So, a lot of what I want to bring forward, like we really have to be holding in one hand this whole time that we are innocent here. And your frustration, your resentment, your anger about that, your feelings about all that are so valid. And I actually think that keeping, like, the more you can tap into anger about this, the better, because that will really provide some juice. I think for myself, I learned to shut down into the despair of this is how the world is. It's a world where I have no power, which of course I did have power. There's something about this house that everybody sort of feels like they don't have power. Um, and so because there's like a not a sense of disempowerment, it's difficult for us to then support our ecosystems, reallocate resources, move things around from a place of power when you sense that you don't have power. Right. So it's like if the degree that I have been able to find my power and agency has been really amazing for not just me, but for anyone who is in my world, because I literally create jobs for people as a person who, until like 40, never handled bills because I was like infantilized um, in the realm of money. So I have Chiron in the second house, so I've just done a lot of healing in this area, like completely reprogrammed my relationship to abundance, having, receiving. It's ongoing. Like I imagine I'm always coming up into my limits of what I think is possible and like limits where I feel like I couldn't have any more or it would make me evil, like I have a lot of protecting limits and I just continue to explore expanding beyond them because, the truth is until you're like we really need to understand that a millionaire it couldn't be any more different than a billionaire. Like if your goal is to make $1 million, like you are not the problem. You know, millionaires are so far away from billionaires. And so when we're over here worrying about like raising our prices $50, like it is ridiculous how many fabulously talented, big-hearted, brilliant human beings I know in my ecosystem who are terrified about raising prices. When we think about it relative to the mind-boggling, that's what it is this mind-boggling. You have to dissociate from it. Um, Corruption of such a small group of people on this planet. I just want to get I want to help anyone make more money who wants to make more money because we all need to be making more. I want us all making more money, bringing our gifts into the world. But that's a different conversation. Or is it? Maybe it's all connected. Yeah. So I think for me, to tie this to death, I think that, well, first of all, when I was getting a divorce and going through this whole period of like, you mean I'm going to be in charge of myself now? I mean, I was regularly fetal position on the floor, just like, I cannot be trusted. I cannot be trusted. Like, I won't be able to pay bills. I won't be able to take care of myself. There's no way I can take care of myself. And I was heavily raised to believe that men take care of you financially. Heavily, deeply conditioned in this. So harmful, so harmful. So, my process of unfurling here and going into deep, deep, deep recovery and repair and remembering and renewal, all big themes of emergence astrology pathway, I really wanted to look at this I really wanted to heal from a feminist perspective of like how fucked up it was that I was raised to believe these things. And it was so frightening. But as I began to heal in so many ways, one of the big things I was healing was also my relationship to feeling and just like years and years and years of dissociation from my feeling body and wanting to feel nothing. Please, just like anything to not feel, that's what I'm interested in. Um, and I started like learning to feel again, all things I teach. And what was there and what's always there is grief And the more I allowed myself to feel grief, I noticed the more I felt available to abundance. The more I felt available to death, the more I felt available to life, livelihood, 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 my own livelihood as part of my own aliveness, which is part of my own understanding that all of this will end, all of it. So, how did I move out of self-abandonment whereby I the self-abandonment was complete abandonment of self-trust. If self-abandonment is like leaving the house that is you, it was saying like I need to get in someone else's house. I need to be in someone else's house to be safe. So, hey man, will you take care of me? Because I got to get in someone's house. I mean, that is like the energy. Did look up the etymology of abandonment, and this is interesting. The phrase evolved into the old French verb abandonner, literally meaning to place something at someone else's jurisdiction, control, or mercy. In early feudal law, expressions like mettre à abandon referred to opening up a forest or pasture, surrendering one's exclusive rights, and leaving it freely available to anyone. This concept of giving up control and placing at free disposals shifted over the years. So, um, like letting my financial life be like somebody else's, like that's somebody else's job. And this is very like, for me, this feels very like the lineage of white women fragility that we were entrained into. This is definitely from my positionality because I am from lineages of women who were taught to not make money and marry a man who takes care of you. And then you surrender all of your rights. Like you surrender your rights. That's the self-abandoning. And that's what was available to them. They were innocent. This was the world that they arrived into. And that lives in me. It's like it's encoded in me. And so for me, it was like a return to my own right to have my own house, as in not literal house as much, but yes, also like keeping my own space, keeping my own hearth, keeping my own accounts, keeping my own sense of oikonomos, meaning the root of economics is like your ecosystem hearth, and keeping that for myself. And just like as I began to do this, I began to realize I will never want to rely on a man again. Like that is not going to be a thing that happens for me. And in turn, it liberated my seventh house, also ruled by Venus, because I've got Taurus in the second and Libra in the seventh. It liberated my seventh house to be marrying for other reasons than because he can quote unquote take care of me financially. So, oh yeah, um, yeah. So I think that like self-abandonment in the second house can happen wherever we are surrendering rights, surrendering our the fullness of our power over to like a set of beliefs that we've been indoctrinated into, or I even think like the despair of the system. So this is where we have to hold nuance and hold different one thing in one hand and another thing in another hand. On the one hand, we are innocent. This is an oppressive system, and um like that's not our faults, and we have a right to be angry and frustrated at that. On the other hand, when I have found that returning to myself here, returning to my freedom has meant, where do I have agency? Where do I have authority? Where can I trust that I am the source of my own prosperity? I provide my own abundance. I am abundance. I am abundance. It's pouring through me because I'm a human and I'm part of nature and I'm on planet Earth. I belong here with this planet, as we all do. And just like I am the trees, I am the flowers, I am the teeming life, I am all of it. So it can be that resources can move towards me, and then they can move through me, and then they can move away from me, and this can feel really good to me. I can be in magic with the planet Earth with resources. So, for each of us, we have a different sign there that will give information about the way of the movement with nature. Like if the signs are a way of being that tell us something about the universe, including the ways of planet Earth, then and what do the signs want? I teach, they want to be able to move without being held back and blocked by shame. Then the sign that you have there can tell you something about the movement of freedom. And then the ruler of that sign, the planet that rules that sign, will tell you something about that liberation. When I did the Unshaming Second House episode with Sabrina Monarch, which was so fun, I remember she said these words: "The Lord of your second house will get you out of hell." And so that being the planet, so it's interesting that for me, Venus is in the 12th house, and my own healing processes have been like seemingly unrelated to my material life. Oh, except that they are, because the fourth, eighth, and 12th houses are deeply related to the material houses of the second, sixth, and the 10th. If you want me to speak more on that, come learn with me. We've just been exploring that. So that sixth house Venus, no, the 12th house Venus of mine in Pisces, exalted, but really unskilled a lot of my life. Putting putting that way Pisces 12th house into like into skill helped to create the liberation of my second house, which, as I said, is ongoing and it will always be an ongoing process because, like, for me, self-abandonment, like the layers of it, we can only be conscious of so much at once. This is why it takes so much time, but it's so worth it because it really does repair. There's always sort of like more layers that start to bubble up from the unconscious right on time, like right when you're ready to like learn this next thing, or right when you're at like a income ceiling and you sort of stagnated. That period of stagnation, once it starts to irritate you, can start to reveal to you what's going on with the stagnation, and you can do alchemy to heal where there are truly resistances and blocks to receiving more. And for me, self talk is so central to what I think is possible. And for me, I address self abandonment by talking to myself differently. This is probably true for every house, but I think it's very true for the second house, is like how you talk about what's possible for you is going to be related to what's possible for you. So agency and authority happen here, even inside this fucked up system. Agency and authority come from choosing to talk to yourself differently, choosing to talk about reality differently, choosing to talk about the marketplace differently, choosing to talk about your bank account differently, choosing to talk about receiving differently. And that in that choice, you feel that you are in your own house. rather than accepting somebody else's. So, yeah, let me feel into if there's anything else that wants to come through here. Yeah, I would just say that from a ritual standpoint, who whatever planet rules your second house, like if you have a deep desire to reprogram with money, like I have, like utter deep reprogramming, I have done. Like I have been in a deep apprenticeship for with Venus for years, and Venus being the ruler of my second. And I had the support of Uranus going through there the last 7 years. So for those of you who are Taurus rising, you're going to have Uranus moving through your second house now for 7 years. Pretty amazing. But there's also transits that can wake things up there, not just Uranus. So if there's a Mercury retrograde in Gemini, like there's all kinds of things that could that's just for Taurus rising. If you experience some kind of interesting transit that's going on through your second house, you can be in deep ritual with that experience to open up the most liberating pathway possible for you in your relationship to prosperity, in your relationship to your livelihood, in your relationship to your abundance, in your relationship to providership, providing for yourself. And you can, I think all of this is about building a house for yourself, right? Like ritual is a house, ritual creates a container. Ritual is a home that you can get inside with yourself. This is what I'm teaching in the emergence astrology pathway is like all the ways that this can be powerful for you applied to your life. So, yeah, that feels good. Thank you so much for listening. Please check out the link to Emergence Astrology Pathway in the show notes. Doors don't open till June 21, so there's plenty of time for you to start taking in the information. I've just completed the course page. It was so fun to write. Literally just immerse myself in it for hours, and I'm sure I'll be continuing to tweak it, but it's ready enough to be able to share with you and help you get a sense for what year one is like. I still need to build out course pages for year two and year three so you can see the larger vision. But at this point, you only need to commit to year one. And if year one feels good to you, you can decide. You can decide next summer if you want to do year two, based on how you felt about year one. But it is a building curriculum. And anyone who wants to go on with me has to start at the beginning because we cannot skip year one. Um, and I would say that even if like you've been working with the moon for years, like you're a big moon person, I completely respect that. I love that. But I have a very particular way that I do this. I have a very particular pedagogy. And I want you to expand all of that wisdom that you already have with the pedagogy that I'm bringing through for you. These are mature teachings. I've been doing these for years now. They're very, very mature. They're mature, they're refined. I know how impactful they are. And so even if you feel like, well, I already know about working with the moon, I I would say, come learn more. Is there a limit to how much we can be expanded by this? Like, is there a limit? No, we only get deeper. So there is no, I already know that with this material. There isn't, which is also why people come back to my classes and take them again and again. People who have taken my lunar teachings take them again and again and again because it's a different experience every time because it's not about information. It's about the experience of yourself and the insights that come through you for you. You come for that experience of yourself. You don't come for the teachings, but the teachings are also awesome and you can weave them into your life. You can weave them into your own teaching spaces as you embody them and transform them from your own gnosis, because that's what you're coming for. You're coming for your own gnosis. I'm providing a space for you to have your own gnosis. And that is how it starts getting embodied. Not because like you memorize something. That's just the way it goes. That's how this stuff is. So, um, yeah, check out the class and yeah, let me know how you feel about the self-abandonment project through the houses. I'm looking forward to seeing you at self-abandonment in the third house in the next one. All right. Cheers.